because it's going to inform how you present to others, and it's going to inform how you think about others. You can focus, you can change your attitude, and if you develop that ability to change your attitude, it'll arm you with skills and tools that you can use as you run into problems. Rule number 3, and this is the most important rule of all, call your parents a lot. And see, in fact, certainly if you follow those 3 rules, I can guarantee you that you're going to please your parents, and you owe that to them, so follow all 3 of those rules. In order to go on with the talk, I need to explain a little bit of what we do for a living. A lot of people see the Pritzkers as mysterious. We don't see ourselves as mysterious. What's happened is most of the companies we're involved with are privately held, and so we don't have to talk about what we do. But it's sort of an interesting background. My great-grandfather was the immigrant. He had 3 sons, all were lawyers. My grandfather had 3 sons, 2 were lawyers, 1 was an engineer. The engineer claimed he's the only Pritzker ever to have earned a legitimate living. My father, in a lot of ways, was the progenitor of leveraged buyouts. So not quite the same as private equity today. He was doing leveraged buyouts with our capital and with bank capital, but he was doing it in an environment where tax rates were 80%. If you have to pay 80% of the gain in taxes, you're never going to sell, and that has consequences for the culture of what you do. It means what you really do is you focus more on those things that drive the P&L rather than today's private equity who are very focused on balance sheet. So the things that drive the P&L are really your management team, your customers, and your products. And so in our world, as we begin to build businesses, that's what we really focus on, is those 3 things: the management teams, the customers, and the products. So just as I suggested 3 thoughts for your personal development, let me now try and suggest 3 thoughts that may be useful in the business world. First, as you may know, Conrad Hilton had a famous saying. He said there were only 3 things that mattered in the hotel business: location, location, location. The Pritzker corollary known around Hyatt is there are only 3 things that matter in the hotel business: people, people, and people. And whether it's been the hotel business or other businesses that we've been involved in every single case, what I find the pattern is if we get the people right, the business works. If we get the people wrong, the business isn't going to work. So rule number 1 is people, people, people. Rule number 2, and this is important since you're all from the University of Chicago, free markets suck. So, I'm sorry, Gene, I didn't mean that. You should never play on a level playing field. Don't believe what any of your professors at Booth told you. Monopolies are actually good, not bad. They're only bad if somebody else owns them. And so the message here is what you call competitive advantage. Figure out a way to tilt the playing field so that you've got an advantage. Find a niche, find an advantage somehow. Second rule is find yourself a competitive advantage. Then third, I would say in every endeavor, you need to force yourself to prioritize. And that's critical. I think it's critical in life, but certainly in business it's critical. So first prioritize, then simplify around those priorities, and then focus your effort around those priorities. Don't try to be everything to everybody. Try and find a niche and own that niche. You want a monopoly in that niche. Quickly, I'll describe 3 businesses to give you a sense of what my journey has been. I got hepatitis. I got hepatitis having a meal at a Marriott hotel. If any of you are recording this, you should blank that out, please. And I was introduced to 3 guys who were in a very large container leasing company called ITEL, and they wanted to leave, and I said, great, I got a deal. If you'll expose yourself to my hepatitis, I'll expose myself to your business plan. And so sure enough, one of them moved in with me, and for 5 days, we'd sit and talk about a business plan, and then I'd fall asleep. He'd work it out. He'd work through the numbers. I'd wake up. We'd work some more. I'd fall asleep. For 5 days, literally, he lived in my house, and we did this. At the end of it, we came up with a pretty interesting structure, and we started a container leasing company for $1 million. Today, that container leasing company, it's called Triton, is the largest, best container leasing company in the world. We have something like 2 million TEUs, those are the boxes. And if I look back, this has been over 30 years, and if I look back at that experience, a couple of things. One is we had a lot of near-death experiences for the first 5 years. It's a pattern I've seen in every company I've started. Second is it was about the people, and it was finding a niche. We had a business plan that had us start in a niche that we could own. So that's the first one. So that's 30 years we've been involved in Triton. Second one is something that I'm doing right now. What I'm doing right now, and you may all want to head to the doors when you hear this, is I'm starting a business in southern Iraq. So the background on that was I went to Iraq twice during the war. Actually, I went to Afghanistan twice during the war, mostly because I wanted to see it. It was a moment in our lives, and I wanted to understand it. You all may remember the surge. The surge was actually an economic concept as much as a military concept. It was, what Petraeus did is he changed the doctrine from clear and hold, where you'd go in and clear the village out of the bad guys, hold it for a while, and then move on to the next village, to clear, hold, and build. And the idea was go in and get the factory open, get the school open, create economic prosperity and stability, and they'll tell you who the bad guys are. And that really changed the whole course of the war. So I got to know the guys who were in charge of the build program. And in the course of it, I was intrigued by what they were doing. War ended, they retired, they came and said, I want to go into the consulting business, will you back me? And I said, no, consulting's a horrible business. Sorry for those of you who are going into consulting. The problem with consulting is you can't make money when you sleep. And I sleep a lot, and so I need to make money when I sleep. So I said, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll back you to build a business in the places you've been working. And they said, great, we'll do natural resources in Afghanistan, and we'll do this in Iraq. I said, no, no, no. You can pick one town, and within 30 miles of that town is where you're going to do your business, because you need to own that town. You need to know everybody. You need to know the business. And so we then did 10 white papers on different businesses. We high-graded it to 3, and we're now building out a berth and a port and doing a distribution business. The key to that is, for those of you who are speaking Yiddish, I have some Meshuggah partners who are willing to go to Iraq on a regular basis. That's my competitive edge. And it's very asymmetrical. We're not putting that much money in, and if we're successful, it's got huge, huge potential. Give you an idea, Iraq has as much oil as Saudi Arabia, and they need to put in $150 billion of infrastructure in the next 10 years. They have the money to do it. So our business plan, I can tell you graphically, they need to get $150 billion into a hole this big, and I want to put a toll booth in the hole this big. That's the second one. Third one is I've been involved in a number of very large businesses, Marmon and Hyatt. Marmon has $7 billion of revenues. Hyatt's a big hotel company. And the way we think about the larger businesses is think of the organizational pyramid. The truth is that the knowledge and the ability to execute is in the bottom of the pyramid. The bottom of the pyramid has more knowledge and more ability to execute than the top of the pyramid. So the way I think of the job at the top of the pyramid is 1/3 of their job is to organize the pyramid, focus the pyramid, and give them the tools to do what they know how to do. The other 2/3 of their job is to get out of the way. And the funny part is, it's that 2/3 that seem to be really hard for us humans to do, is just unleash the bottom part of the pyramid to do what they know how to do, and you'll find an enormous amount of power in that. Let me just conclude with one other thought, and that is around giving back to society. So I don't view giving back as an obligation, I view it as an opportunity. I think of my life as wanting to meet interesting people and have interesting experiences. And whether I do that in the course of building a business or do it in the course of giving back to society, it's actually one and the same thing. If giving back means just writing a check, it's not the same game. But if what giving back is about is getting involved and engaged with an opportunity to do something for society, what you're going to find is you're going to meet really interesting people. They're going to be different than the people you meet in your normal daily life. And you'll have great experiences that fully enrich your life. So as you go through with your careers, you're going to begin and you're going to get very fixated on your careers. Don't forget about the opportunity to give back, because it can be a lot of fun for the rest of your life. Thank you very much.